good afternoon or good evening or good night where you happen to be this time of the day. We are glad to come your way again this week on another edition of Steve and Afresh Show. As usual, I am yours truly, Steve. Today we have a great show in stock for you. I don't know if I should call it one of the greatest show in stock for you, because the subject matter to be discussed today is one that is of ultimate importance. Alfred and I tried to, delve into it some time ago and did some little research, but today we have an authority on the matter who will be joining us very shortly in the studio to discuss land acquisition and property purchases in Ghana. This is a topic that we know it is very dear to most of us here in the diaspora and just everywhere else. And today we are so fortunate and blessed to have an authority on this matter that will be introducing him. He's right here in the green room, so we'll be bringing him on very shortly. Anya mi mede mo via mo yo ten mo via mo yo jogba mene hu nyi mo ke mene hu eke woni mene hu ngo wona ake mene hu wa watashi ni wo kenya ba gba shipon he mo ke property he mo ye Ghana da wo fen wo le bo ni shipon he sajin yo mene wo danyi mo sha ke woni de she wonye mi ko no ni wonye mi ebe die nche ka ke shipon sajin ebe ebe di enjene ka wa gba hisani onye ka ya eko nye shale nke ko ni mofia mo ne kesa ne le sani mofia mo anu eko no nye shale nke nye hawo benyele nye ngbeji Steve yo nye yuwa don yo eni anum etsen yeda nyam kokon aseso de ene enso ache ya ene enso yesia share yes, Steve, any Alfred show, so Echo Radio, your number one station for Africans living abroad. And then in commodine, a young commodibia, a win here, yina papa, and they say, yina, you see, sunina, and they say, Ubenya abody be an answer, Ubenya japadia be a japadia, yina, in themselves of Batasa, say, no, be see Diana, so be was so an answer, would the be a fool, and I said, here as our dear. And so, as I say, some our Ghana, a sama. Aye bibi ene nyakopon adomye a ene yesa aka yenia a waben ewo asase ho nsem ho papa ena ene ene de betwitwen komo mokaya na no be ye twitwen ho komo kakra ye mene Alfred ene ye play lawyer ne ye friends research fellows ye keka ho asem ene ya nya obi a ono na ye ka asase ho asem a obi a wabbing a wampa and any the between some common. No, you like a sham for the Mika Duckman and Mawaga Cockbaha me at Baba one Akata ye a lecker mia jack bagba mia flying by Miakatamiaba and Yiba and Yakasano no garden nami Miakatami no chichima miaba miafufo miajila over an Aniba what to college you or do alcohol at that but tomo Kata and Yiba for flavor nyawa and yanyaika. Eduna tanton toto egba mia bashika mia novia de madagafia mikpie ye wa wafono na mecho anyigba feflegba ple ye be enya minya leke anyigba feflegba nyawa do denafu le Ghana tontonto akpe gare na be akpere mia kamera ko Michelle link na mi Michelle link na me shama na jagbagba no adoto na biabiare no hala wa shiwa no hana to abia akpe gare na mi amiga me Google mara ko mi kaba mia yide wanaji akpe gare na mi. So you are listening to Stephen Afresh Show from Echo Radio, your number one station for Africans living abroad. I'm coming your way from Chicago. Let me go to our Washington studio and then let's join with my co-host Alfred, and then we can bring our guest, our honorable guest, onto the show in a few minutes. Alfred, are you there with me? How are you doing, sir?
Steve, I'm here with you. I'm doing wonderful. Let me see if I can share the screen. Where are you, Steve? Yeah, Steve. I'm doing great. It's beautiful outside, and it's a good day because, again, Steve, it's your birthday, and I wanted to take the opportunity to wish you a happy birthday. And I'm looking forward for this show today. I know the guests, like you said in your introduction, we've tried to play lawyers, we've tried to play research assistants, but today when I saw the name, the background of the guy we'll be talking about today almost fell from my seat. So I couldn't wait for this conversation. And I hope my viewers would also enjoy the conversation. So, Steve, without further ado, I think we should get into the conversation. Our guest is already in the studio and is waiting. And I promise you this is going to be good. So I can't wait. Let's start, Steve.
Okay, so let's bring our guest. Let's bring our guest onto the show. Yeah, and as we kept saying in the beginning, today we are so fortunate to have uh, a, a great guy with impeccable credentials joining us today, who is an authority on this issue. Today we're going to be talking to Dr. Gad Asorwoe Akwensivie. This is a gentleman that we've come to know through a friend, as Alfred Wells always say, tell a friend to tell a friend. We've come to know through a friend. He has vast experience in property investment and advisor for over 20 years and practice in Ghana. He's had this experience not only in Ghana, it transcends Australia, Azerbaijan, Canada, Ethiopia, France, Germany, Ivory Coast. It goes on and on and on, all the way through Peru, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, the UK, and US. And that is not just it, it goes way beyond that. This is a guy who has practiced and experienced in matters concerning land acquisition and property management and investment in this area. I believe in 2025 or 2029, thereabout, he was invited to the World Bank here in Washington, D.C., where my good friend Alfred resides, and he spoke on land property investment in Ghana. Sometime in 2013, thereabout, also he engaged in large-scale land-based investment to help understand and clarify the gray areas of the subject. He has a PhD and he's studied in so many places like the he's a professional in real estate finances, and his degrees is beyond, it's beyond this. And above all, in all this, he's been to London, he's been to UK, and I'm in London, and he studied in the UK, not only in London, but across some other sectors in the UK, here in the US, and so on. And he's also a lawyer as well. So today we got everything covered. But above all, he's a good friend of my younger brother. He went to school with my younger brother. He's a Behecan as well. So he went to Bishop Herman as well. So ladies and gentlemen, he was also an alumni of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Gad Akwensivie. Doc, how are you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Your credentials alone go do the whole show, see now.
Oh, thank you for having me. I think the time, we're in different time zones, so I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's nice to be here. Thank you.
All right. So as Doug is greeting us, that shows that he's not here in the US. Doug is joining us all the way from Ghana. So we are really privileged to have him here today. So it is such a privilege to have him join us all the way from Ghana. So thank you so much, Doug. Okay. So Doug, for most of us don't know you. So for the benefit of those who do not know, including Alfred and I, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, apart from your impeccable credentials, which is just off the charts?
In summary, I have worked in land and property in Ghana for the past 20 years. I'm currently a Deputy Chief Stool Lands Officer at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources here in Accra. I've consulted for individuals and firms across the country, but mostly in the Greater Accra region, Greater Accra, Ashanti, Central and Western region, and a little bit in the Volta region. So these are my specialties. Yeah, so to keep it short, basically, I consult on any issue on land. I'm a valuer by profession, a fellow of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors as well. I am training to be a lawyer. I hope to be a lawyer soon. I'm not yet there, hopefully
I don't
soon.
yet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So we can mix it up a little bit because you've been in Ashanti region, you've been in the Volta region, and you went to Biheko. So a shout out to all the Bihekans that are joining us this afternoon or this evening, this night or good morning wherever you may be. And and I'm sure you're proud to have God on the show with us this afternoon here in the Chicago area. So, Doug, let's delve right into the show and let's talk
Yeah.
about the subject matter for which you are here to present. I think Alfred is just smiling back there. So, I think Alfred has some questions that he would like to put to you. And our viewers, if you have any questions, please just feed it through our live feed and then we can read them for you. We see there are some comments online already. So, if you have any questions, please just feed it through so that we can read them live for you. So, Alfred, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to welcome my brother. I'll call him Dr. Gad because I know the PhD is probably on the way. I just wanted to say a big welcome to him and say that I'm a Spakan and he's a Bihekan. So I know there's a story there about Olaga. So maybe we'll settle that before he gets off the show today. But I know this conversation is going to be very interesting. The other time we pretended, but today we have you and we can't be so grateful. So let's get into the conversation.
Okay, so Doug, so when we talk about land acquisition and or purchase of land, we know this is something that is so dear to, especially we here in the diaspora. We all aspire to come home, purchase a land, develop it, be it farming or residential property, or sometimes even commercial property. Tell us what are the issues pertaining to land purchase, land acquisition in Ghana, what I would call land tenure system in Ghana. When we say land tenure system, what can you tell us about land in Ghana, period?
Right. Thank you very much, Steve. So the thing is, we have different types of land in Ghana. And when I say that, many times people wonder what you mean by different types of land. So in Ghana, we have basically 5 different types of land.
Mm-hmm.
And for each of them, they all come with their different requirements. And so it's important that you know what kind of land you are buying, especially for the purpose for which you intend to use it. So we have 5 different types that you must know in the first place. So we've got vested lands, we've got state lands, we've got family land, people say clan lands, and then we've got stool and skin lands, and then private land. So these are the 5 different types of lands that we have in Ghana. So for the first 2, that is vested and state land,
Mm-hmm.
these are lands that are managed by the Lands Commission. So state land are lands that have been acquired by the state, and so these are government lands. Another term we use for that is government land.
Right.
So that land, that is government lands and vested lands, are managed by the Lands Commission on behalf of the state.
Okay.
So under no circumstance should you be dealing with vested land and state land and be dealing with an individual. Many times you have people buying land in cantonments, in Ridge, airport residential, is some portions of the East Legon, and dealing with individuals. These are predominantly government areas, and you should be dealing with the Lands Commission.
Okay.
So many times you have people having their fingers bent in deals of this nature. And in the same vein, if you're talking about vested lands, if you are buying land, you should be interested in knowing what kind of land you are buying.
Right.
So you should be asking questions. Is this vested land? Is it private land? Is it stool land? Is it skin land? Is it family land? And so on and so forth. If you are dealing with family land, which are predominantly in the Volta region, I mean, land in the Volta region predominantly are family lands. So in the Volta region, you'll be dealing with family lands. And if you're dealing with family lands, you should be dealing with the head of the particular land owning group.
Okay.
So if you go to Bando, for instance, in the Volta region,
Right.
the lands are not controlled by chiefs. The lands are controlled by heads of families. And so you should be dealing with a head of family if you are interested in buying a piece of family land. Then the other type of land that everybody should know about is stool land.
Okay.
Stool land in the Akan speaking areas or in the Akan areas, we call it stool land. But in the northern region, we've got skin lands. That is the equivalent of stool land in the northern parts of Ghana. If you're dealing with stool land or you're interested in buying a piece of stool land, you should be dealing with the chief or the occupant of the stool, if it's in the Akan speaking area, or the occupant of the skin in the northern region. That is the equivalent, as I said, in the Akan speaking areas, or the regent in the absence of a chief. So many times you don't have a chief in place. It's either there's litigation, there's contests, and so on. You should be dealing with the regent. In the absence of a chief or the occupant of the skin or the stool, you should be dealing with the regent of the stool or the skin. And then in many parts of Ghana, particularly in the Greater Accra region, you find large portions of lands that are private lands. So these are lands that belong to individuals, and they hold them mostly on freehold basis. And so the land belongs to them forever, and they can transfer that land to you forever. They can create a leasehold interest in that land. The thing you should know about these different types of land is that you cannot acquire. So then I'll go next into the interest, the types of interests that you can get in these different types of land.
Okay.
So for vested lands and state lands, the Lands Commission will most of the time give you a 99-year lease.
Okay.
So Lands Commission will give you a 99-year lease if you're acquiring a piece of land in North Legon or Westlands or South Legon, and places like that, those areas that are known to be state or government lands. So you can get a 99-year lease if it's a vested land or it's a state land. Then for family lands, because before the passage of the new act, I'm sure you are aware of the new act that we have now in Ghana. That's the Land Act, Act 1036 of 2020. So you can get a freehold interest in a family land.
Right.
And so, yeah. But the thing is, with stool and skin land, the Constitution says that you cannot get in excess of, you cannot get a freehold interest in stool or skin land. So you get a leasehold. So if it's a leasehold, it means that it has it's a terminable interest. It has a beginning and an end date. The indenture will mostly tell you that you are holding the land for 40 years or you're holding for 50 years. But what we know predominantly, we have 99-year leases. And it's interesting that many times when you tell people that, oh, the person asks you that, oh, my task has you. And you tell the person, oh, my task is, and the person says, oh, mitowo gumuafete or mitowo ejumaku or mitowo agogo. And you tell the person that, oh, a lease, oh, inti assassin one for my membership document, you look at the document and it's for 99 years.
Right.
And you tell the person that, oh, assassin what on for 99 years. You see, Debbie, mato assassin, mato.
Right. Yeah.
So many people have the impression that once they pay for the land, they have acquired an interest in the land forever.
Right.
But the thing is that many times the document will specify the number of years you are paying for. And that's why it's a lease. You pay the drink money, so you see nananum, and then you pay the drink. Previously, what you will do is you will pay for the land.
Right.
And then I hope I'm on air, am I?
Yes, you're still live. We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Oh, I think he freezed off a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so those are some very interesting revelations there. He's actually very specific on the type of land in which areas. I didn't even know that Water Region, for instance, that most of the lands are family lands. So very interesting perspective so far. What do you say, Steve?
Yeah, let me see. I think he's back. Gad, can you hear us? Yeah.
No, it's not back. It's just there, but it's frozen.
It's frozen. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, let's see if we can get him back. Yeah.
Yeah, he's back.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we could hear you. I look like it froze for a minute. Yes.
Yes, I realized so. Yes. So the lease will normally specify how many years you hold in it. If you are buying land in the Volta region and you are lucky, you will get a freehold interest. So Toby will give you a freehold interest in the land, and so on and so forth. With state land, you are likely to get 99 years for a residential plot. So government will give you, Lands Commission on behalf of government will give you a 99-year lease if it's for a residential development. If it's for industrial and other purposes, other commercial purposes, you normally get a 50-year lease in the land. If it's for filling station or what you call fuel garage,
gas stations,
you will normally get about 21 years. It will be an interest of 21 years that the government will grant. If it's for agriculture, then you have a band, so it spans between 10 and 50 years. That's what you will get from government. And then for other uses such as civiculture and other cultural open spaces and parks and the rest, you get up to about 50 years. So these are what you need to know at the back of your mind if you are acquiring land from the Lands Commission for the various uses. Then, so once we have this at the back of our minds, that we have different types of land in Ghana, and then we have different types of interests. So when you are buying, you should be asking questions. What type of land are you selling? How many years am I having in this land? Is it a freehold interest? If it's lease, how many years do I have in it? So people are buying estate houses now. So these estate developers have a 60-year lease in the land. They can't sell you. I mean, the law is that, or the principle is that you cannot give what you do not have. So if the estate developer, for instance, acquired a 60-year lease from the chief and has built, has developed the land and he's selling, he cannot grant in excess of what he has. So he probably took 65 years. He's made about 10 years off the lease. He's got about 55-year lease. And then he sells off the property or the estate or the building for 50 years. And many times people do not know. They buy thinking they acquire the land for forever. Many times, it's even shorter than 50 years. You have many estate developers selling land, and the interest in the land is just about 30 years, 35 years. And people only get to know later on after the deal has been closed and payments have been made. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it because, I mean, it's all embedded in the agreement. You signed it, and so you are deemed to have been aware of what you signed. So it's important that you always ask these questions. I'm buying this estate house. How many years do I have in it? And that should be stated categorically. There are other things that you need to know. In fact, so one of the first things you need to be doing is the preliminary inquiry. So you engage someone who says, oh, I have a piece of land or I have a building that I'm selling. There are certain things that you need to know. The first thing you should be interested in knowing is the identity of the person who is selling the land.
Right.
Because of the growing incidence of identity theft, you've got so many people, quacks, sometimes not quacks, they belong to the group, the land owning group that owns the land, but they do not have the capacity, they do not have the right to deal and sell with the land. So you should be interested in the capacity of the person fronting and attempting to sell. So questions you should be asking, for instance, the first question you should ask is whether the land belongs to him.
Right.
Then he might either say yes or no. If he says no, then you should ask, why are you selling? Or why are you dealing with it? Then he comes back and says that, oh, the land belongs to my family. I'm a member of the family. I'm acting on behalf of the head of family. Or I'm a member of this Nungwastu or Lastu or Agugustu. And so I'm acting on behalf of the chief. Then that provides you with, arms you with information to ask for more questions. Right. You want to engage the person who has authorized him. So you need an ID, you need to corroborate probably one or two IDs, the passport or driver's license, or now we have the Ghana card or the national health insurance. And be sure that you are dealing, the essence of this is to be able to trace the person if the deal goes bad. Right. And that is what many times a lot of people do not do. And they realize the deal goes bad, and even tracing the person who sold the land becomes a problem. Only last 2 weeks we had a similar instance where a lady acquired land. She bought the land like she was buying tomato at Makola. She met these guys who were interested in selling land. He accompanied them to the bush. It was somewhere around Dowenya, around the Central University. They went, they inspected the land. She fell in love with the land. So they came back to the roadside, and then they changed, monies changed hands, and she was assured of getting the papers to the land in 3 days. And we are talking, this is 1 month now. She hasn't gotten her land, she hasn't gotten her papers. So it's important that we do this basic due diligence. You want to know who you are dealing with right from the beginning. It may appear offensive, especially in our setting, to be asking people of their IDs and stuff like that. But if you know what could happen, it's something that you should take seriously. And so if the person provides this, then you want to probably meet with the person who has authorized him. Sometimes they may be holding a power of attorney, purporting to be acting on behalf of someone, either the chief or the head of family, or someone who is probably not within the jurisdiction. So you scrutinize the power of attorney and then the ID. If he's acting on behalf of a family, or a stew, then you want to engage with the head of family or the stew or the regent of the stew for corroboration. You need to engage them to be sure that indeed he has the power and authority of the larger group to deal with the land. Because the whole idea of stool land, if they say stool or skin land, it basically means that the land belongs to a group of people,
Right.
a very large family, a group of people who trace their lineage to a common ancestry. So if you talk about the Nungwas too, it's a very big family, very large family comprising of different families who identify by some historical antecedent. So last two, for instance, yes, it's La, stretching all the way from the sea to the Akwapim ranges. The land belongs to the last two and belongs to a group of people. So the stool or the occupant of the stool is acting on behalf of this larger body. And so if you are dealing with that land, you should be dealing not with an individual,
Right.
but the head of the group who happens to be the chief. And that is very, very important. You shouldn't be dealing with stool land without reference to the occupant of the stool. It could be a second transaction. It could be a second transaction in the case where I may have acquired the land from the Asres too, or from the Jamestown's too,
Right.
or from the Kumasi's too.
Gamashi or something like that. Slang, Gamashi, yeah.
Yeah, and seeking to transfer. In that case, there might be what we call consent within the agreement. So when I was taking the land from the last two, or from the Nungwas two, or from the Usus two, there would be a clause in my arrangement, in my document, or in my indenture, stating that I need the consent of the stew in the event that I want to part with that land. And in that case, it will be important that you get this person to get that consent for you. So if it's a second transaction and you are not dealing directly with the stew, you need the consent to assign. It's called a consent to assign. And it's a very expensive piece of paper. So normally you want to transfer the land, you get this consent to assign. So you get to the chief and tell me that in the year 1980, I bought or I got this land from you. I intend to offload this land to Steve. And so I need consent to assign. You need a consent because without a consent to assign, you will not be able to register that land at the Lands Commission. Because it's part of the requirements in registering stool land, for example. So these are some of the basic things that you need to do. And then you have to visit the land.
Right.
So the other step you need to take in the due diligence process is to actually visit the land, avoid dealing with vendors, surveyors. So normally you tell you that, oh, we have our surveyor who can do everything for you. He can prepare the site plans for you. As much as possible, if you can, engage your own surveyor to do that. And then once you have visited the land, it will be good to visit the land even without the with a vendor. So he takes you to the land, he shows you the land, you're happy with it. You can go back again without him and talk to neighbors within the area. These are information that you get Lands Commission cannot tell you. It could be land that is subject to litigation, land that is subject to litigation that is currently ongoing. The Lands Commission will only be aware of litigation when judgment has been granted and there's a ruling and a copy of that judgment has been served on the Lands Commission. But where parties are fighting, it could be siblings who may be fighting over the land, and one of them is gone behind them in an attempt to sell.
Right.
You can only get that kind of information when you go behind the scene. So you go back to the land and talk to neighbors. And then they'll tell you that, hey, Sasiwe, man, somewhere. So you get a lot of information when
Right.
you do that. So if you're happy with it, so you go to the site and you don't get any of these negative information, then you request for a site plan. So you get the vendor or the seller to provide you with a site plan. The site plan should be, it must relate to the land you intend to buy. And how do you know it relates to the land you intend to buy? You need a surveyor to actually relate that to what is on the land. So the surveyor what the surveyor will do will be to confirm whether you are dealing with the same land, because many times you will be given a site plan which has no relationship with the land you are talking about. So that site plan relates to another land. You can conduct a search using that site plan and get very favorable results. But then you are not dealing with the land you have vested and are interested in buying. Now, to be able to find out that you are really dealing with the land that you intend to buy, you need to get a surveyor to really confirm that, oh, this site plan in natural fact relates to this land, and the dimensions actually relate to this land. So if it's a 70 by 100 plot of land, the surveyor will confirm and say that, oh yes, it is a 0.21 acre plot of land, and that is the dimension. So now that you have this site plan in your hands that relates to the land that you intend to buy, it is important that you now approach the Lands Commission to conduct a formal search. Now, you will find out, or you will hear people saying that sometimes you have to do 2 or 3 different searches. So you do a public and vested land management search, then you have to do a survey and mapping search, then you have to do a title search. It's confusing, but it's important that we understand why you have to do this, because before 2008, if you remember, we had different land sector agencies. We had what we used to call the Land Title Registry. Then we used to have the Land Valuation Board. Then we used to have the Survey Department. Then we used to have the Lands Commission, and so on and so forth. These different agencies had different records. So they were all keeping different records on land. With the passage of the Lands Commission Act, that merged all these different land sector agencies in 2008. So it was merged by it's called the Lands Commission Act, 2008 Act 767. This law actually merged all the previously separate land sector agencies. So now we have the Land Registration Division of the Lands Commission. We have the Land Valuation Board, Land Valuation Division of the Lands Commission. Now, the Land Valuation Board, the then Land Valuation Board is now the Land Valuation Division of the Lands Commission. The then Land Title Registry is now the Land Registration Division of the Lands Commission.
Yeah. Okay.
The Survey Department, as we used to have it, is now the Survey and Mapping Division of the Lands Commission. And then what we used to know as the Lands Commission then is now the Public and Vested Land Management Division. So we have all these different land sector agencies now under one roof. So they have been merged. They have been merged, but their records are still in different places. So because of this, you need to run searches in the 3 divisions, in fact, the 3 main divisions. So you run a search at the Public and Vested Land Management Division, you run a search at the title division, and then you run a search at the survey and mapping divisions. So these divisions will give you records on this particular piece of land you intend to acquire. It may be conflicting, but then it gives you a lot of information in order to be able to engage with the vendor. So you could have the survey and mapping division search telling you that the land belongs to Kwesi, but then the public investor land management division and then the title division will tell you that the land belongs to Steve. Now, it doesn't mean that you must abandon the transaction because you are not getting the names that you expect. Then you should ask further questions. It could be that the party who has plotted his interest at the survey and mapping division is in the process of registering. And so the land registration process has this embedded system called the adjudication process, where you need to invite the other party for discussion. So once you find that there is somebody else whose name is plotted at the survey and mapping division, which is not conclusive. In fact, the survey and mapping division search only tells you that there is another person who has an interest in the land, not necessarily have registered it, but has an interest in the land, has probably also paid the same person for the land, but is in the process of registering. So then you engage this person in order to iron out the differences before you proceed to acquire the land. If you are fortunate to get all the search reports revealing the same name or the same chief's name or the same family, then you proceed. Then it becomes a straightforward deal for you. But it's also important to find out from the local authority. So if you are building in Oibi, for instance, you want to find out from the Katamanso District Assembly, or if you are building in somewhere around Amasama, for instance, you want to find out from the Ga West Municipal Assembly whether or not you can use the land for the purpose you intend to use it for. That is the development search. So you approach the district, municipal, or metropolitan authority, and then you know them as a borough or county council, and you want to find out whether you can use the land for the purpose for which you intend to, because they have the layout for the area. They have a layout for open spaces, although we tend not to abide by them. They have a scheme for the area that says that this land or this area is reserved for market, it's reserved for a school, or it's an open space, it's for residential, it's for other uses. So you want to be sure that you want to acquire this land for your retirement home. It's for residential. So you want to be sure from the assembly whether you can use it for the purpose for which you are acquiring the property. If you receive the blessing of the local authority and they say, oh, this area is zoned for residential, then you are now pretty sure that you can acquire the land. You can now proceed to pay for it. But the thing is, in this country, land buyers normally adapt different strategies to get you to jump this due diligence process. So for instance, and they use different strategies. So for instance, in the process of you talking with them, they could just come back to you and tell you that, look, there is someone else interested in the land and the person is ready to make a down payment. So if you really want this land, please make a down payment. And most of the time, they do this when there's a problem with title to the land.
Right.
And they don't want you to do full-scale due diligence, because you might find out the details of the ownership. And so they will come up with all sorts of stories, just as I have just said. And then, out of haste, because you are scared of losing the land, um, probably the asking price is just within your budget, or for other reasons you want the land, then there might be the temptation for you to sidestep the due diligence processes, doing the searches and doing all those other checks that you need to do, and then
Right.
rush into making payment. A very efficient way of going around this, avoiding them pushing you around to make a quick down payment, is to go through or to use a sale purchase agreement. So a sale purchase agreement basically holds the whole transaction for a period.
Right.
So you tell the vendor that, well, I'm interested in this land, I will buy it, but I need to conduct due diligence. I need us to sign a sale purchase agreement. So it's going to hold the property for 10 days. It's going to hold the property or the transaction for 5 days. Within that 5 days, within that 10 days, within that 2 weeks, the property is going to be off the market. It gives you time to be able to do your due diligence and do your checks, probably even get a surveyor to the site to produce the site plan and to do your searches, because the time to do an official search at the Lands Commission is not a matter of days. Currently, the turnaround time for conducting a search at the Lands Commission is about 2 weeks, plus or minus 2 weeks.
Okay.
And you need that time to be able to do your due diligence. So you want to hold the whole transaction down for that period. So you get a sale purchase agreement done that holds the land for you over that period. And there are so many ways of getting a good deal. I don't want us to go into the negotiation
Okay. Right.
strategies for acquiring land in this country, but there are so many things that you can do to get the buyer, to get the seller accept your offer, which we won't go in probably for this session.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Sure. Go ahead.
yeah. Then once you have gotten this, you then you've gotten the sale purchase agreement, you do your due diligence. If you're happy with the outcome of the search, then you can proceed to make payment for the land. You make payment, and then you get the indenture prepared. Normally they would, and you see the sale purchase agreement will also hold the property. It serves, or it stands in the gap of in the period when, between the time when you have paid and the time when the indenture is prepared, because it takes a while to prepare the indenture. It takes sometimes up to 2 weeks to get an indenture done. Now, with the introduction of the barcoded plan, I'm sure you are aware of what they call the barcoded plan. Effective 2019 thereabout, you cannot register any land which site plan is not barcoded. So the barcoded site plan is basically a plan with embedded security features. It's to help prevent fraud and to eliminate the quack surveyors and so on and so forth. The preparation of the barcoded site plan, for instance, take a little while. On average, to get a barcoded site plan will take you about 3 weeks to get a barcoded site plan, and then it will take you about 2 weeks to get the indenture. So between the time that you have made payment and the time that you actually get your indenture, the sale purchase agreement stands in the gap. It says that you have acquired this property, the property belongs to you, you have paid for it, how much you have paid, etc., etc. The sale purchase agreement even gives you, it tells a story of what has happened all through the time that you made payment until the property actually changes hands. So the sale purchase agreement is something that a lot of people do not do in this country, but is highly recommended to do. The next thing you do once the sale purchase agreement has been done and you eventually get your indenture and you have made consideration, you've paid consideration for the land, is to take physical possession of the land.
Sure.
Many times people buy land in this country and they say they've bought the land for their kids, and so there's no need for it. There's no immediate need for the land, and they buy the land and they abandon the land, and other people get access to the land, tend to use the land, and then eventually acquire adverse possession. So once consideration has been made for the land, the next thing you have to do is to take physical possession of the land. I mean, to take physical possession of the land doesn't mean that you should build on the land. If you can afford to build, fine. If you can't afford to build, there are so many things you can do to take to mean that you have taken physical possession of the land. You can construct a perimeter fence wall. You can probably do a single room on it and get someone to just reside in it as a caretaker. You can take stones, chippings. You can just do something on the land that would tell any reasonable person that this land belongs to somebody.
Right.
So if you have bricks on the land, you have chippings and sand and stone on the land, and you have been introduced to a land that has got all this on. The first question you'll be asking the vendor is, oh, but what is this doing on the land?
Right.
Cement blocks, this single room. You begin to ask questions. It communicates to the whole world that, look, this land actually belongs to somebody. And it's important that we do this because many times people, maybe where you are or in other places, buy land and are not ready to develop. They buy the land, they pay for it, and then they abandon the land. And then before you realize, there's a law in this country that says that if somebody acquires your land, somebody sits on your land for a period of 12 years non-stop without the real owner coming forward, 12 years plus 1 day, the person can approach the Lands Commission for a title certificate to the land. And it's a law that exists in many other Commonwealth countries. In the UK, for instance, this law exists. So you might probably have heard of this story where someone within 1 mile square of Buckingham Palace has been squatting on this land. He squatted on the land without anybody noticing it. He sat there, stayed on the land 12 years plus 1 day. He approached Her Majesty's Land Registry and has been granted title to the land. So it's not a law that is restricted to Ghana. It's a law that many countries have. So the thing is, once you have paid for it, take immediate steps to take physical possession of the land. That is very, very, very important. It saves you from, you might be able to get your land back if somebody has stayed on it for 8 years, 9 years. You will succeed in evicting the person. But then it saves you all the courts, brouhaha, and all the costs associated with litigation, the stress and the time and all that. So it's important that you take physical possession of the land as soon as consideration has been made and the land has passed from the vendor to you. So in a nutshell, We could go into much detail, but we've got just an hour to do this, so I will keep it as it is and probably invite questions if anyone has a question. We can take some questions here.
Okay. Yo, Dr. Gad Akwensivie and I would say in the Kana. All chichimu hawa asasito in some Ghana. Wakasa bebre from the types of asasia you walk state land when they family ni stool land any private land and as a skin land waka ho nsem bebre. And how I walk asase na asase ye nyina ye nim se woto asase wo Ghana ye di asase what asase ne se na ye nyina ni wato. So say nyane sa woto asase na nature say the lisu. The lisu na it it stretches from so many years. If bet me I say 20 years. If bet me I 30 40 years. If bet me I 50 years. And so most so no bet me I 99 years. And nim the 99 one no 100 problem. Into one of my film and so I see anything. And they enter a dog away into a dog or a vegetable moon. Yet them say, Mumupi pray, near my dog a kind. You move it Rakotasa say, oh, Ghana, and I say you go say your tassa, and send your kind, ye no more tree. And one say, ye pass a seato. Na ye near be and I say, I done for be a dear name. No, so, oh, I tassa, say, go a hanamo. Bobby says, no boy is saying, no, I try not okay, Chalico, mammy. No, I could no, the scanner man and I could turn a fee. And Nyama, and so Nyama kind dear. And Nyama may assure say, you move it pray anymore. And so now, we have been talking to Dr. Gad today, and he's opened our eyes onto so many things when it comes to land purchased in Ghana or acquisition in Ghana. So let me yield to Alfred. Alfred, I think we have so many comments on the platform. So let's engage some of the online comments first, and then we can ask some of the questions. So the adverse possession is one thing I know is so dear to others. That this law is legal and it is not only pertaining to Ghana, it extends to some other Commonwealth countries, as Gad Akwensivie had indicated. So let's take some online contributions and then.
Yeah, Steve. So let me take them from the top.
Okay.
I think at the beginning we had somebody wishing you happy birthday, which is Kemon Amos. He says, God bless you all. And then Daniel. Yeah, Daniel, I don't know what Daniel was saying there, but we have our director of ACO TV, Dr. Edward Ofori, says, Steve and Alfred show the best information from the duo. Keep the good job. So he's giving us funds. He's and then he says, Steve, happy birthday. Nice background. Thank you, Doctor. So Doctor is really supporting the team. And then Pyle says, happy birthday, Honorable Steve Day. So I'm sure he knows you, and I think he's a member of the
yeah, he ran for parliament in the last elections, and so
great.
Thank you.
Steve, so take over the comments since these are your peoples, so you can respond to them directly.
Okay, so you were just on Fires, Honorable Fires of Oku. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate that. Edward Ofori State Technical, Papa, thank you. And Fifi Scotland from the Tennessee area joining us. Chairman Fifi, thanks you so much for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. Our good friend Ato Kwamina just graduated a few days ago, so we wish him from Stephen Afresh. We wish him congratulations. It's a happy birthday, Steve. But Ato Afresh say they run away from his show. You know they come top again. Why?
I don't know what happened.
Okay, Ato Kwamina say happy birthday, Steve. I know today is a virtual birthday for the persons for the in-person party. A COVID pass, so I am here to receive my invitation. Make you no worry. We come your graduation party finish, and then we go do my birthday. Make you no worry. Yeah, Millicent, I do thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much too. I really appreciate all these very good friends calling to wish me happy birthday on air today. I memorize. I really appreciate it. If I may, I say thanks for the information. Keep it up. This dude is amazing. Thank you. And then we have a few Moses Kwachi. And Moses says, happy birthday to the only professional radio presenter in Chicago. Thank you so much. Let's go to Kakape. If I may, actually, Ghana Agenda say they need you guys. So if you like you guys need to run away from Ghana Agenda, you know they know what.
Sorry, the voice run away.
Okay, I said the buyer of an estate house doesn't have the time to read these bulky and lengthy terms and conditions. How can a person know the number of years of an estate house? And how do you know if what the seller is telling you is true? So yeah, Doc, so keep that in mind. We'll come back to that in a second. We know there are so many comments, so let's keep going. So I'll keep that in mind. Okay, so Dr. Fori says, Efa Ameya, you are right. The average Ghanaian does not seek legal advice or education to read the contract for land buying. Okay, so we have got to answer that. Then Efa Ameya says, why is land acquisition and documentation so cumbersome and seemed shredded in so many never-ending quagmires? Okay, so that is a question for you. We have Vivian Newman from the New Jersey area says, hi guys, hi to you too. We appreciate your support as usual. And then if I may, I comes back again. What are the latest land acquisition reforms, legislation, and requirements in the system? I think that they talked about some of those, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind. And I beg you, they take down some of the questions for me.
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, I'm taking down that.
Okay, thanks. Okay. What advice would we give to those who want a piece of just a piece of earth? Okay, we hear you, Gagape. All right. Do we have laws on what is this? On cemeteries? I'm interested. Do we have laws on cemeteries? I'm interested in that business.
What is he talking about? Is he trying to buy land and tell them
you want to go build cemeteries? Yeah. Okay. What is the secret of family? I said you go bring you interested in cemetery lands. Okay, we hear. If I may, what is the problem? Or is it permissible if I acquire land to build a personal house, but decided to go commercial and use for something else like a school? Okay, so FMA has been asking very interesting questions here today. So Black Jesus has been joining us too. He said, "Good job, guys. Thank you, Black. It's also one of our brothers and in a sister station, Trend African TV. We thank him for joining Steve and Afra show this afternoon. Big ups to you, bro. Okay, so Afamia, so please ask him that. It looks like there is a deliberate attempt by officials to frustrate the buyer, so people use unorthodox means to acquire land. Is this fair assessment of the situation, or things have improved? Okay, so let me go to, okay, let's take one more. Then we'll say, okay, family answer. Oh my God, happy birthday, Steve. Okay, thank you so much. Ras has been joining us of lately, so let me say hi to Ras. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Dr. Gad, very, very informative. And Parkway C is here also, the president of the Ghana National Council here in Chicago. He says, birthday blessings. So, guys, so we've gone through some of the questions, and so if you can take your time and answer, most of them are just my, fans of Stephen Afra show, and today happened to be my birthday. I just made 24, so I'm pretty happy to be growing up. So, Right. Yeah, so
Yeah.
trying to catch up with Alfred soon. So I'm happy. Yeah. So, guys, we've gone to a few questions, mostly coming from Amaya. So, if you can take your time and answer some of the interesting questions that he have asked, please.
Oh, okay. Before I proceed, I also want to add my voice and wish you a happy birthday.
Mhm.
May you double your age in health, good health.
Yeah,
So,
thank
yeah,
you. Mhm.
I I would take the question. Somebody asked a very interesting question on
Yeah,
private cemeteries, that
yeah,
he wants to acquire land for construction of a private cemetery. Yeah, we have a couple of them coming up in Accra, not only in Accra, but across the country. We have a lot of private cemeteries coming up, and I I have first-hand information that the local authorities are encouraging individuals to have private cemeteries, not as in a cemetery for yourself, but you have a cemetery where um, properly managed and used by the public at a fee.
Mhm.
I'm aware that in across the country, it's something that is coming up. It's a profitable business, and I would encourage you to go for it. You just need to meet the statutory requirements. So you approach the assembly to find out if land has been reserved for that purpose, and then you can proceed to acquire the land, and then you meet the requirements.
Mhm.
Um, in Accra, we've got a couple of them. I know in Kumasi we have a couple of them. In the Volta region, in Peki, there is one. There's a new one coming up in Pando, and many other areas. And so, why not go for it? Um, the other question that someone asked is about why, how can you determine the number of years the estate developer has?
Right.
So you want to be sure that you are acquiring the land for 90 years or 75 years, and
Right.
so on and so forth. It's very simple. You can ask the estate developer,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and he either tells you the truth or he doesn't give you, he doesn't respond at all. You
Right.
Mhm.
can ask him direct, categorically how he acquired his land, for how many years he has it. If it's freehold, if you're lucky to have a freehold from him. But
Mhm.
normally, if they have a freehold, they don't will
Give you
normally
free
give you. They will always want to give you a leasehold.
at least. Yep.
Yes, that is what they do. Alternatively, what you can do is with a copy of the site plan that you have relating to the land, you
Mhm.
can conduct a search, and the search will also tell you that, oh, Reggie Manuel has, or Trasaco, or any of these estate developers have, they have a 99-year lease in the land. So if they have a 99-year lease, then your next question is, I know you have a 99-year lease. You acquired the land in 1980. 1980 to 2000, 2021 is 41 years. So you've
Mhm.
made so much of your lease. How many years are you granting? Then he tells you that, oh, I have 40 years unexpired. I'm granting you 39 years less 1 day. Or I'm granting you all the 40 years less 1 day. Now,
Mhm.
if he says he's granting you 40 years less 1 day, it means
Mhm.
that the property will revert to the estate developer
Estate.
sometime
Mhm.
in the future. So you are going to hold the land for 40 years. So whatever you are paying, the consideration you are paying today is for 40 years. After
Mhm.
40 years, the property, the land and the building, because the law is that whatever is fixed to the land becomes part of the land.
Wow.
Yeah.
So building and everything reverts to the estate developer, and your interest in the land is finished, and you have to move out of the house. So most of the time, what you should be interested in is whether the estate developer has an option to renew. So if the estate developer, for instance, in the estate developer's head lease, he has, for instance, a 99-year lease with an option to renew for a further 45 years, then you want to even negotiate. If at that point the estate developer tells you that he's giving you everything less 1 day, you can then negotiate at that point to have it extended to eat into that unexpired, oh, sorry, the option to renew that the estate developer has.
Right.
So it's all about having information. Once you have the information, you can play around it. Many times you tell people that it's for 99 years. The person tells you that, oh, me, I'm already 40 years old. I mean, for 99 years, definitely, I'll be dead and gone before then. But if you are if you are a Christian and you believe in the Bible quotation that says that a wise man leaves inheritance for his children and his children's children, then you'll be interested in having a longer lease so that you can pass on to your children. And so you should be interested in extending the lease as much as possible. Because in many instances, I have met people who have come to me 6, 7 years, 8 years after they have signed the deal to come and tell me that, look, I have signed this agreement with this estate developer. I have just realized that I have 17 years to go. After 17 years, I have to pack bag and baggage out of this house. What can I do about it? And I tell them, I'm sorry, it's too late. So the thing is, it's a bit a pain in the neck, but at the time that you are buying, at the time that you are acquiring the land, if you can't do the screening yourself, if you cannot vet the document yourself, it's good to get someone else to do that for you. As a matter of fact, it is always best we can't do everything on our own. It's always best to let other people do what they are trained to do. So you can get a lawyer or estate surveyor or somebody in the real estate business to vet the document and advise. So he would look at the document and tell you that, hey, Charlie, be careful, oh, this thing, you are buying 35 years in this nice house. You are paying 250,000 US for this 3-bedroom house, and you are only going to have it for 35 years. So, Charlie, be careful. So then you have this information to negotiate with the estate developer. And that also depends on what interest he has in the land. So it pays to look at it at that time. And it's very common. It's very common. You have very knowledgeable people. It's not about people not being able to read. It's just about people buying the land,
Right.
getting the indenture, just signing their portion and chucking the document under their beds until sorry until one day when it becomes necessary to use the document, and that is only when they realize that, wow, I acquired the land and I have only 30 years, and that is when you're probably retiring and need a place for yourself, and then you have to be moving out of the property. So it's important that you engage somebody. If you cannot do it, you engage somebody to do that for you. Then somebody also asked about the reforms
Right.
in land administration.
Right.
I wouldn't venture now, because I'm still reading around it, to go into the spousal rights that wives or partners have in property. But from what I have read so far, property that if you acquire property during your marriage, property belongs to both parties. I think I would go into this probably in the next, as part of the next show. But the other reform is the online system that is being introduced. So Lands Commission is moving from the paper environment. So they are automating. So it should be possible in future to be able to sit in your house and conduct a search, or as it is currently, you have periodic updates on what is happening as far as your document is concerned. So if you're registering land, for instance, now, periodically you receive a text message to tell you that your document has gotten to this stage or has moved to this stage, or your document has been received, or your document is due for collection, the document is complete and is due for collection, and so on and so forth. So the digitization of the Lands Commission is ongoing. And as they say, it always gets very bad, like a road construction. It always gets very bad before it gets better, or it gets very good. So we are experiencing a lot of challenges now, but we can assure the public that if things continue the way it is going, in the next couple of months, or let's say a year, we should have some improvement in land administration. And that would affect search reports as well. Instead of conducting separate searches as it is now, you have to conduct search at the Survey and Mapping Division, conduct a search at the Public Invested Land Management Division, you have to conduct a search at the Land Registration Division. These are all separate searches at different costs. So you pay 3 different times for these searches. In a couple of months or in a year, it should be possible that you apply for one search and you get what we call a consolidated search. So the search will return, you apply for one search, and then the search returns with all the searches from, or the reports from the various divisions, with a summary that would guide you on your next steps. I can go on and on with the reforms, but
we have a few questions. So let's add a few questions to it while you're going through. So Raz says, are there plans to shorten the feedback in a loop from the Lands Commission during the due diligence process? I think 2 to 3 weeks is a bit much. So that is Raz. And then we have Pastor Richard says, hi, thank you. I know Miriam also said hi earlier on. Then Pakwisi says, what is the new law that I am hearing, that lands cannot be sold completely but be leased? Is that true? Sorry if this has been discussed already. And I think that is an interesting question. We have heard of leases, but not all of us are very convinced that when you purchase a land, it's supposed to be for a period of time. We know what happened to Kumasi Brewery, for example, that they leased the piece of land that they were on, and then after the 99 years, the land was taken away from them, and they lost their factory. So this question of lease of land, if it is enshrined in, if it's enshrined into law, the interesting question that most people would want to know is that, so what happens to my property after the period of time? Like you stated, like you alluded to, we build not just for ourselves, maybe for our retirement. So we keep working until we retire. And maybe 20, 30 years after we retire, then we relocate, and we may have already spent so many of it. So do we get a chance to continue to live in our homes and be able to bequeath it to our family as our great grandfathers have done in the past?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. It's interesting, but the law is that if a lease means that it has a definite end.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is a lease, it means that there is an end to the lease. But what you should be interested in is whether there is an option to renew.
Right.
So the smart ones, when they are acquiring land these days, even if it's a lease, they will insist or they would request that there is a clause that says that the buyer has the option to renew the land for a further 45 years or a further 99 years, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So that is what we should be interested in having when we are buying land. So we should make sure that we have this firmly at the back of our minds. It's important that you see, you always get that deal at the time of payment. When Nananum or when Ni has seen the money ready, sometimes that's the point at which they accept some of the requests that you make, not after you have paid for it. So, and the fact of the matter is they do not lose anything by inserting a clause like that in the document today. In any case, after 45 years or after 100 years, they are not going to be available. So they will willingly, from personal experience, they will willingly grant your request to insert an option to renew at the expiration of the lease.
Okay, so Doug, if I don't mean to interrupt this, so
Yeah.
Doug, if so, what is the essence of the term limit? Why do we have
Okay.
term limit? Because look,
Okay.
our grandparents and our parents have bought land, built on it that we've called our home for all these years.
Yeah.
Not at any point in time that I was growing up that I became aware that this land that my parents' home was on lease, or maybe we were just oblivious to the fact. So the question I'd like to ask that what is the essence of the term or the lease term? Why can't it be a freehold?
Okay. So at the beginning, I talked about stool land,
Right.
and I tried to explain the fact that when we talk about stool land, we are talking about the situation where a group of people, maybe 500 years ago, 600 years ago, came together and fought for the land. So this land belongs to a group of people, a generation that are gone, some currently living, and a countless host yet to be born. So if that is the agreement or that is the understanding that this land belongs to a group of people, some dead, some living, and some yet to be born, then the current or the generation living today
Mm-hmm.
mustn't sell the land forever
Okay.
to deprive future generations of the land. So the whole idea is that you lease it, you enjoy the fruits of the lease, you die, the next generation comes, they have the land back to them, they can also lease. So the land remains with the group forever and ever.
I
That
see.
is that is the whole idea of it, because the land belongs to a group that will come and go. So it will not be fair for us living today, or the chief or the head of family living today, to sell the land and deprive the future generation. So for me, that is about the most reasonable justification for this whole idea of not selling land on freehold basis, but on leasehold basis.
Okay. I know Alfred has some questions. He's showing us a few things in the background, but I know Alfred has some questions. But let me read two Kwamina's question here. If I may, if your money is to purchase an estate, you must have the time to read about the terms. These days, we must be vigilant and get a lawyer to review bulky forms for you to or hire me. Okay, so Natu Kwamina is advertising himself that he should be hired so that he can do the due diligence for you. So, Alfred, I've asked a few questions. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask Doug? He's been on here for about an hour, 25 minutes now.
Yeah, I've enjoyed listening to Doc, and some of the details is just fascinating. Doc actually answered some of the questions that we couldn't answer the last time we did this, and he's doing so well at that. Doc, here's my question. There's still a confusion between, buying a property and having a deed and a title. So, if you can help myself and the listeners understand, what is the difference between having a deed? You've also mentioned that, sales purchase agreements usually would help you from, being forced to pay for the land and not necessarily, especially when that land hasn't been yet properly, the due diligence hasn't been properly or fully completed. Who can you seek help from? Which stakeholders or parties is it lawyers that you need to consult for this sales purchase agreement? What are the professionals that you can use, especially for those of us living in the United States where we are not present in Ghana to do all these searches ourselves? Are there teams of people in Ghana, businesses that you can consult and have assistance with all these steps and processes?
Yes, I can answer this, but I'm running low on power. I just need to quickly power up. Yes, so if there are other questions, I will be taking them whilst I log in.
Okay, right. So we'll take a quick break, and then when we come back. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. You have been watching or listening to Dr. Gad Asorwoe Akwensivie. He has a very impeccable pedigree and well endowed with matters, regarding land purchase, investment, and what have you. He's taking us through a real journey to give us a real insight as to how to purchase land. What are some of the steps that you need to take? What are some of the issues that you may have to face, and some of the intricacies of the law as to pertaining to land purchase. So we are so privileged, and he's coming our way all the way from Ghana this evening. It's quite late in Ghana, and so we really appreciate his time. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, hopefully he'll be charged up, and then we can continue with the conversation. You are listening or watching Steve and Alfred Show from Echo Radio, your number one station for Africans. We'll be right back after this short break.
Are you 65 years or older? Good news. Illinois has expanded its Medicaid health insurance program to everyone 65 and older, regardless of your immigration status. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, UAO, WhatsApp, SMS, IL65 to 773-420-8976. It's true. For most people, your health insurance program increases as you grow older. That's why the state of Illinois has expanded its Medicaid health insurance program to everyone 65 and older, regardless of your immigration status. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, UAO, WhatsApp, SMS IL65 to 773-420-8976. If you are 65 years and older, there's one thing we can all agree on. Your health and well-being is important. Whether you are a recent green card holder or retiree, asylee or without paper, you're now eligible for the Illinois Medicaid Health Insurance Program. Need help to apply? Contact United African Organization, WhatsApp, SMS IL65 to 773-420-8976. Documents needed to apply: your proof of ID, your proof of address, and your proof of income.
Welcome back to Steve and Alfred Show. We are today talking to Dr. Gad Asorwoe from Ghana. He is a director at the Land Commission, and he's been taking us through a real lesson. Let me take this moment to also acknowledge Miriam. Thank you so much, Miriam, for joining us. And Pastor Richard Tavia, thank you, sir, for joining. And Camilla, thank you also for joining us this evening. We're talking about land issues in Ghana. And for all the, for the hundreds of people that are out there watching us or listening to us, if you have any commentary, please, if you have any questions, just send it through our live feed so that we can read those questions for you. We really appreciate your time, John. So Alfred, it looked like Doug is back. Do you have any other questions for Doug before he continues?
Yeah, so I asked my question. I was asking Doc, who are the group of people, professionals that you need to consult with if you are interested in putting together a sales purchase agreement. The difference between a deed and a title is, which one supersedes which, and what do you need to get? Say you purchased a land, you've done the search, everything is good. What do you do? Is it just going to the court and getting judges to give you a certificate? What is the process? What do you get at what point in the process? And what is this yellow card thing? I know they are migrating to the online environment. And we've also heard that they are going to be using blockchain as a basis of transactions in our land administration. So if you can help us break all that down, and I know his time is running, but we really appreciate it.
All right. So thank you very much for the question. I will start with the difference between the deed and the title. So as you may be aware, we currently have two systems of land registration in Ghana. Right now, as we speak, we have two different processes, types of land registration. So the first one that we all know or have known is the deed registration or deed registry. The other one we know is the title registration. Now, the deed registration is a registration. So they register, and it's a registration involving the parties. So what they do is they register an agreement between a chief and a buyer. So you get a document, it's signed with a site plan and says that on such and such a date, these two parties met and agreed to transfer land. This deed registration system is currently, or it is still being done in all the regions. So in all the 15 regions, you find the deed registration system. So except Greater Accra, where we have title registration, we have the deed registration in Central, Western North, Bono, Ahafo, Bono East, Northern, Savannah, Upper East, Upper West, and the Volta region, and including the Eastern region. Title registration is restricted to the Greater Accra region and a certain small portion of the Ashanti region, and that is within 1 mile square of Kumasi, Edum. The title registration system is a more secure system.
Right.
And you will hear people often talk about a cadastral plan and so on and so forth. Now, the title system, when it started, was an improvement on the title was an improvement on the deeds registration in the sense that it makes use of GPS-rated site plans. So, for instance, the site plan that will be used to get the title registration done is GPS rated. And it's unlike the deeds registry where most of the site plans were not. The title registration system has this embedded extra security feature to make sure that the land that is being conveyed is the exact land that the parties intended. Because under the deed system, we have instances where people acquired land along the beach, but using modern equipment, you find out that even the coordinates that were used in picking these lands shows that the land actually lie in the sea. So the thing is, the title system is more secure, it's more precise, and it's also a guarantee. Actually, is the state guaranteeing that this transaction is I have this transaction has my blessing. And
Right.
apart from that, it has this embedded dispute resolution mechanism to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that where there are two parties fighting over the same piece of land, you have the chief registrar inviting both parties to resolve it rather than these ended up in the law courts, further clogging our already congested law courts.
That's right.
Yeah. So the title system is a more secure system. It also makes use of what we call the publication. So if it's the first registration, there will be publication in the newspapers telling the whole world that the Lands Commission is in the process of granting title to Mr. Gad or Steve, and so anybody who has an objection should raise it now or forever hold his peace.
Right.
So it has this extra feature that seeks to announce to the whole world that there's a certificate on this piece of land that is being granted to a particular person. So to answer the question, in short, deeds against a title, we have two separate types of registration in Ghana. Title is restricted to Greater Accra region and just a few areas within the Kumasi metropolis. And everywhere else in Ghana is the deeds registration system. So
I've,
you shouldn't, under any circumstance or under any occasion, hear people talk about title registration in the East region, for instance, or title registration in the Volta region or in the Central region. Title registration, as it is now, is restricted to the Greater Accra region. And the end result of a title registration system is the certificate. You will be issued with a title certificate.
Title certificate, yeah.
A title certificate that shows that you have the blessing of the state. And in fact, because of its enhanced security features, the banks and other financial institutions these days prefer the title certificate to the deeds because
okay.
So
with the deed,
okay, I was gonna follow up and say, so does it mean that if you're buying land in Volta region, that land cannot be registered and you cannot be granted a certificate, that you can only get a deed, or we are saying that you can buy a Volta land, but you have to go to Accra to get the land title?
oh, okay. As long as the land is in the Volta region,
Yeah.
you can only get a deed.
Okay.
The title registration system is will be extended by the minister responsible for land in future into other areas,
Okay.
and it affects areas that have been declared as registration districts. And so, if an area has not been declared a registration district, the title registration system does not apply. So basically, that is it.
Okay, so I have Paul, Doug. We have Paul Sogbe, a good friend of ours, just asked a question regarding the very subject matter that you were there to discuss. It says, is the deed registration same as land indenture?
Yes, exactly. So what it is that the indenture that you present to Lands Commission is the same indenture that you get back in the case of a deeds registration system.
Mm-hmm.
So when you present your indenture to Lands Commission will take note of the content of the indenture and then place some stamps on the rear side of the document to signify that that piece of land in the indenture has been plotted in the records of the Lands Commission to be for asymmetry. So the indenture is what we call the deeds registration system. The title system will not return the indenture to you. It will return a title certificate. So that is another difference. Instead of getting a title, you get a deed in the case of a deeds registration system.
Okay, so I'll follow up with another question. Why is the title registration take so long with people working at the Lands Commission, which is your your outfit, not providing you with the actual receipts of your payments? So he has a question pertaining to you directly.
I perfectly agree that the turnaround time for getting a title certificate is quite lengthy. Currently, it's in the region of about 7 months. You could get it earlier if there are no issues with your document, and especially if it is not a first registration. For first registrations, because of the processes, so for instance, you present the document for stamp duty, it takes a while to get the stamp duty done. On average, it's taking about 10 to 14 days to get the stamp duty done. But you see, with the first registration, as I mentioned, we have the system called the publication. The transaction must be published in the papers. It's normally published in either the Spectator or the Ghanaian Times. It will be published in these papers to the whole world and to the effect that the Lands Commission or the state is in the process of granting a title certificate, and if you object to it, you come forward. This process takes a while. Statutorily, there's a requirement that after the publication has been made, give the public enough time to object or to accept. So after the publication, for instance, the state has to sit and wait. There's a window of about 21 working days after the publication. And that is a window for anybody, any member of the public, anybody who feels that that certificate shouldn't be issued to GAD to come forward. That process alone, getting the publication done in the newspapers and giving that public window, that process alone, together with the statutory period, is giving you something like 6 weeks. So that process alone of the title certification is taking that long, and that accounts for the length of time that it takes to get your title certificate. I agree that it should be possible to get it shorter because some of our neighbors are not doing badly at all. I happen to be in Rwanda and I've seen the interesting things they are doing with title certificate. In those countries, land is centralized. If you go to Ethiopia, you want to buy land, you are sure to be buying land from just one person. It's the government. The government owns all the land. If you go to other countries, I mean, our land tenure system plays a big role in the delay in the land registration process. For instance, I was telling somebody that you can't acquire in this country, you can't acquire something like 3 square kilometers without talking to more than one chief or heads of family. So that is the system that we have. Our land tenure system, and especially in Africa, differs sharply from one country to the other. And that is one major reason why our system takes much time. But I agree it should be possible to reduce this time considerably. Yeah, it should be possible to aim at government's time, government in 2017 discussed the possibility of reducing this time to 1 month. That it should be possible to get title registered within 1 month. It should be possible to work towards that. Even if we are not able to hit 1 month, we should be able to reduce that drastically. Reduce it drastically from the 7 months that is currently is, but get it down to, I mean, people will be happy to get their certificates in 2 months compared to what we currently have.
Yeah, so we have Lawrence Dagadu calling from the Dallas area, who is saying that the length of time that it takes and all the other quagmires that you have to go through, that gives you, does that mean that, you can be ripped off? And so he says that, can you be ripped off in the process since all this is taking so long and it's caught up in so many bureaucracies? Okay, so we have Rasa Kolache says, thank you, Dr. Gad. I think Stephen Alfred need to feature you more often. I thought it was relatively well informed, but we have been hopeful. Most operated on full land of ignorance. So yeah, I agree with you. Most of us have been very ignorant of the facts, and we thank God for coming in today. And Raya Black Jesus says we love this information. Thank you so much, Raya Black. So Paul came back and says, someone tried to register a 20-year-old land he purchased with a property on it. The new online portal, which is being used to follow the progress of registration, came up with someone else named as the main applicant. Could this affect the registration process? Guy.
Okay. Thank you for the question. There was a question that was asked earlier on yellow cards. We no longer use the yellow cards. And in any case, the yellow card is just an acknowledgement form. It bears the lodgement number or the job number, if you want, and then it bears the parties to the transaction. It was used to help track the document in the system, but we no longer use yellow cards. So if you're talking about yellow cards, then it means that you may have commenced your registration something like 10 years ago. We have ceased to use yellow cards for some time now. Now, the other question or the other thing about why people tend to it's when people, most of the time, so people come on holidays to Ghana, they acquire land, and they sometimes want to see the registration before they return.
Okay.
And they are on holidays, and the holiday is just for 3 weeks or maybe maximum 1 month, and they want to get these things done before they return. And so they tend, or they are tempted to facilitate the process. And they think that you can pay and get things done quickly.
Yeah, expeditiously, yeah.
Yeah, that is a bit problematic because most of the time you are not going to get official receipts for that. The Lands Commission currently do not or does not have that facility. In other places, you could pay for premium if you wanted to get your document done quicker than normal.
Right.
We currently do not have that kind of system in Ghana. So this is what people have to bear at the back of their minds, and not to pay, not to be tempted to pay for that kind of service. At the end of the day, even if the service is rendered, you are not going to get receipts, or you're not going to get official receipts for that. And so it's just to discourage that, basically. And then there was another question about who can help in conducting the due diligence.
Right.
Yes.
So if we are undertaking a transaction, we live
Yes.
here in the US, can we consult with someone to do all these things on our behalf, who understands all the nooks and crooks of the system?
Yes. It is good to always work with approved personalities or professionals. So in this country, we have quite a number of people in various professions. So you have members of the Ghana Bar Association. They are basically lawyers. They can help you to do your due diligence. You have members of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. They can help you to do your due diligence. These are people who are trained to handle land matters. So you can engage them. If you want the full list of approved estate valuers in Ghana, I think you can log on to www.ghis.org. There you can have a full list of valuers or approved estate surveyors who can help you to conduct due diligence prior to your land purchase. There are other professions such as the Ghana Architects Registration Council. I don't know if it's the Ghana Institute of Architects. Yeah, I think the Ghana Institute of Architects, they can also help. You have others such as the Ghana Institute of Planners. They can also help you to conduct your due diligence, and so on and so forth. There is the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association.
Right.
They can also help you, except that for them, most of their members are businessmen, people who have got money and are into real estate. Some of them should be able to help you conduct due diligence, but the chunk of that group are mostly businessmen who may not be able to help. There are some architects, some surveyors, and some lawyers who are into that business, and they can help you to conduct due diligence. So, in a nutshell, you can talk to lawyers, you can talk to members of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, you can talk to the Ghana Architects Registration Center, and so on and so forth. There is in place the real estate brokerage law. In fact, it's currently, I think it's still in Parliament, and that would get this body in place. And when they eventually get the blessing of Parliament, this will be another group that you can easily fall on to conduct your due diligence for you.
Okay. All right, Alfred, we have engaged Doug. We told him an hour. We've taken about an hour, 45 minutes of his time. It's quite late in Ghana, so let's try and wrap this up so that we can give him time. It looked like he's still in the office. I'm surprised. It looked like, unless he has an office at home, but it is quite late. So, Alfred, let's wrap this up. And if you have any final questions for Doug, please do so that we can wrap it up and give him some time to rest. So when we call him the next time, he'll be willing to jump on the phone with us very quickly. Alfred.
Yeah, I thought, Doug did very well in answering all the questions that we've posed to him so far. I would only say that he promised to come back and talk to us about the new reforms that are currently going on and especially the ones with I don't know if it's a spousal one that he was staying away from, but I wouldn't want to.
If you say your wife will take your land or within.
It watch me here right now, so it be like he's about to ask me where the land papers are. So we would wait and have you come back and give us more details on some of the reforms that are going on. I think we've heard you for too long. You've done so well, but we wanted to, for me, I would just not ask any further questions so you can take a breather and get some water to drink. Thank you so much for all the answers you gave us.
Yeah, so Gad, before you give us your final words, though, so the question, in all that we have talked about, we talked about some of this. We haven't talked about land guard issues. We know land guard issues is, it's one of these contentious issues that people don't seem to understand. But just want to say, from everything that you have said, is it safe for those of us living in abroad or living in the diaspora to come and purchase land and develop it as we call our home, maybe retirement home, or for our for our kids or for future use? Is it safe to do so?
Yes, in my closing words, I think I would encourage a lot of members. The thing is, many people have had their fingers burnt in many land transactions.
Right.
And so the stories that you hear, that even this afternoon I had a colleague in London tell me that, look, he's abandoning all his plans of coming to build in Ghana and so on and so forth, because for 2-3 times he has lost the land that he paid for. The thing is, because we do not conduct the due diligence. So for instance, at the beginning, I talked about where you need to find out whether this person who is selling the land has capacity. We are normally in a rush to conduct searches. The search is important, but should come in at a later time. The important thing you should do is to find out whether this person selling the land has the capacity to sell. And that is what we normally we don't get right. So we pay for the land, and somebody else comes back and say that, look, I am the real owner of the land. You did not consult me. You've paid money to the wrong hands. And so I want my land back. And the person gets his land. Right. So the due diligence is very important, and we need to be patient. We come for holidays in Ghana, and it's 3 weeks, and we want to get everything done before we go. It doesn't happen that way. Sure. We need time to be able to get the basics done. From my personal experience, it takes at least about 6 weeks to 8 weeks to do proper due diligence prior to buying land. So if you are doing it shorter than this time, then you know something is not right.
All right, so Doug, we're gonna end it there. But if you have any final thoughts, please feel free to do so. But otherwise, we want to thank you tremendously for making the time to come. You and I were chatting earlier. I told you we'd do about an hour. We took too long of your time. So we'd like to thank you. But if you have any final words that you want to leave with our listeners, please do so.
Oh, it has to do with large land acquisition. So many people are interested in buying land on large scale for either agriculture or other large land-based investments. The procedure for acquiring these lands differ from what we've discussed today. What we've discussed today are typically for residential. So you are buying 1, 2 plots, 3, 4, 1 acre, 2 acres, that kind of thing. But if you are acquiring for large scale, you are buying anything in excess of maybe 100 acres or something, that has it's a different arrangement where you have public hearing and all that. You need to undertake, conduct social impact assessment studies and environmental impact assessment and all that. We probably can discuss that in future. But in a nutshell, I would say it is still very possible to acquire land in Ghana. Don't shy away from investing in Ghana. That is the only way we can develop. And so I would encourage people to come and have the patience to undertake the due diligence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. We really, really appreciate you. I know there were quite a number of people that were asking if you can leave information and if they can contact you. But, as you have indicated, you wouldn't mind coming back so that we can delve into other aspects of land acquisition in Ghana, as you have indicated. So we really wanted to thank you so much. But if you give me the permission to share your links with them, but as you said, you work with the Ghana Land Commission, and if they happen to be in Ghana, they can come to the office and then ask for you, and maybe you can point them in the right direction as to who they can talk to, who they can consult with, and what they need to be looking for, if you wouldn't mind doing that for our listeners.
Yes, before I go, my office is within the Lands Commission in Accra. But
Okay.
my office is the office of the administrator of Stool Lands, is within the Lands Commission premises. So it's one of there are two land sector agencies in Ghana. We've got the Lands Commission and the Office of the Administrator of Stool Lands. I work in the Office of the Administrator of Stool Lands. And probably viewers who maybe be interested in some of my publications. I've got this one. This one is Buying Land and Property in Ghana. It's available in all leading bookshops in Ghana, Kingdom Books and Stationery, EPP, Assemblies of God, Presbyterian Book Center, Catholic Book Center, and the rest. I've also got others. This one is Land, Property, and Estate Management in Ghana. That is also available in all leading bookshops. I'm working on getting the Audible, and if it's available, I would share that as well.
Doc, can we see the publications again, please? Yeah.
Yes. So this one is Land, Property, and Estate Management in Ghana. This carries is a booklet actually. So I know people don't like to read. Many times they tell
like
Alfred
and I, right?
And then this one is Buying Land and Property in Ghana. So this one takes you through the entire value chain, including all that we've discussed today, and including buying large-scale land for various uses, including agriculture. And this is also available in all the outlets that I have mentioned. There is another one that is coming up that is on customary lands, and that hopefully that should be published by the end of the year. And so if you needed one, you can get to these centers. I've got an outlet in the US, an outlet in Canada, and an outlet in London. So anywhere you want this, if you drop me an email at gadosman@yahoo.com, that is GADOSMAN@yahoo.com, I can help you get a copy for your library. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alfred, your final words for Doc before we let it go.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Doc if these books are on Amazon, but I didn't hear him say that. So, because a lot of people really want to go online and get one, I think it's one of the essential books that we should have in our libraries. Doc, this has been good. I've learned so much, and I think I have so much more to learn when we bring you back, because you did mention that now the land certificates are having barcodes. I would like to explore that more when you return. But I wanted to take the opportunity to again say a big thank you for sharing all this good information. And we will take it, we will work with it. And when we have questions, we will reach out to you and your team. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure is all ours, Doc. We really appreciate it. So keep up the good work. Say hi to my younger brother for me, Samba. Yeah, yeah, Samba is my younger brother. So say hi to him for me out there. All right. All right, thank you so much. And I would like to thank all our viewers today, especially most of the Behekans that joined us this evening, most of you that we have never seen online before. We really, really want to thank all of you from joining us from wherever you joined us from. I saw my good friend Anthony Preston join us not too long ago from Ghana as well. And I could see Numose's great show. And we have Lawrence Dagadu that joined us from the Dallas area as well. Before I say my thank yous, my further thank yous for all the birthday wishes, let me yield to Alfred for his closing remarks before I close the show. Alfred, your closing remarks. You've been showing a lot of exciting things. I don't know if you've been trying to tease us all day as to what we
I've been showing some beautiful houses, but I have no relationship with the companies building these things and trying to sell them. I'm just trying to tease you guys so that you can follow some of the good advice and information we are getting from Doc. And invest in Ghana. This is our home. It's our land. We have to own a piece of it and pass it on to generations. But Doc is saying that read the fine print. Make sure you know how many years is being transferred to you. He said something that stuck to me. He said the seller cannot sell what they don't have. If they don't have interest in the land, they can't be selling or transferring that interest to you. So let's bear that in mind. Let's do our due diligence. Let's make sure we go to the land when, the seller is not dead himself, and let's talk to the people in the neighborhood. Watch out for things like structures on the land, because that, is an announcement to the world that somebody else has interest in the land. So I've learned so much, and I'm enriched. I'm blessed on a day that is so special to myself and Steve, on Steve's birthday. I didn't know. That's what I was trying to say. So, Steve, I learned so much, and we are grateful for Doc for coming. I hope all our listeners and viewers also learn as much as I did. And we are looking forward to bringing Doc back and to continue this conversation. Thank you all for listening to us. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, I'll be back on the Ghana Agenda Saturday, and we'll be discussing some very interesting things. If you haven't already done so, go to Ghana Agenda on Facebook and look at all our videos. Yesterday, we actually discussed the Corruption Risk Assessment Report, which was done by Community Development Alliance on how our COVID funds were spended. And so many different contracts were awarded to companies that were formed a couple of months before those contracts were awarded. And you ask yourself, if a company is formed 2 months and then a contract is awarded to that company, what is their background? What is their past experience? Don't they need to have done some of the things that they have been awarded contracts on before they get those awards? So this is some of the things we discussed on the Ghana Agenda, and I hope you will go back after listening to this little teaser and watch the entire video. Really appreciate you for listening. Steve, take it away, and good night from Washington, D.C.
Thank you so much, Doug. Let me also say thank you so much for coming. We approached him not too long ago, within the last week or so, and when we began to communicate, and he availed himself. As you can see, he's an extremely busy person with all those impeccable accolades. He's also an author, so please get a hand on the book that he had shown us today, so that you can get to understand all the intricacies involved in land purchase and its issues in Ghana. I know there are quite a few friends of mine who have been talking about going into agriculture. So that is an area that he said it's a different ballgame altogether, and he would like to avail himself so that we can discuss that in the future. So we are most grateful to him, and so am I most grateful to all the wishes of my birthday. It's been a blast. I've never had an occasion like this, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I would like to thank all of you for joining us today and taking in this valuable. I am so glad that we are able to bring you this show today on my birthday to enrich all of our viewers and our listeners as to what is the best way to go about purchasing a land and some of the things that you need to do. We are so grateful to Dr. Gad Akwensivie. We thank him so much. And so do I want to thank all of you as well. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again next week. But don't forget, Sienna is also having a health forum and some Tole night on the 29th of May, which is the Memorial Day weekend. I will be bringing you some more information on that. So stay put for that and all the other summer events that are coming up. There is so many. The cities are beginning to open. The country is opening up. So there's so many events that are coming up. Ghana National Council talking about the Ghana Fest. So we'll be bringing in tons of information on all of that. So stay tuned. And this is a place for you to get the most authentic information. Don't forget Alfred Amuzu's Ghana agenda when you deal with all the political issues. So thank you once again.
Steve, before we go, Steve, President of Siena, Dr. Nyamadi, Chacho Nyamadi, wants me to say a special happy birthday to you on his behalf and on behalf of the entire Siena. So happy birthday, Steve, one more time.
It is always a pleasure. We're always at the service, so maybe God can come. Siena can invite God to come and tell us a little bit about the Volta region lands, and because Siena is involved in so many projects in those areas and across Togo and Benin, with Doug being an international man, maybe he can tell us a little bit about some of those things. So who knows? We can invite God to come talk to Siena one of these days. So once again, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure and a blast to come your way. We'll be back again, same time, next week, same time, same place. And we hope that you can join us again. I am yours truly, Steve, signing off from here. And as always, take care of yourselves and of each other. We'll see you next week. Peace. We out. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.